This is Bob, and he's got a huge problem. Bob just built a fence around his pasture. A big, beautiful fence. The best fence anyone's ever seen. He says it's to keep the other bulls from eating his grass, keep the good hay for his own herd, make the pasture great again. There's just one small issue. Bob's herd doesn't produce enough hay to survive. They never did. This is the story of how tariff wars work, how they're supposed to protect your economy, how they actually create a system where everyone loses, and how Bob's fence might just starve his entire herd while making him feel like he's winning. Think of it like this. The global economy is one massive grazing ground. Different herds in different pastures. The American herd, the Chinese herd, the European herd. And for decades, they've been trading hay across the fences. China sends cheap manufactured hay. America sends premium tech hay and financial services. Everyone specializes in what they do best. It's efficient. It's productive. The prize bulls love it because they can buy cheap hay from China and sell expensive American hay abroad. But here's the thing. Bob's working cows? They used to make hay. Good hay. Manufacturing hay. Steel hay. Textile hay. Then the fences came down in the 1990s. Free trade. Globalization. All the buzzwords. And suddenly, Bob's working cows couldn't compete. Chinese cows were making the same hay for a fraction of the cost. Bob's factories closed. The working cows lost their jobs. The pastures emptied out. Fast forward to today. Bob's working cows are angry. They want their jobs back. They want the fences back up. So Bob builds the fence. He calls them tariffs, taxes on foreign hay. Make it expensive. Force everyone to buy American. Sounds great, right? Here's how tariffs are supposed to work. Bob puts a 25% tax on Chinese hay bales. Suddenly, that cheap Chinese hay isn't so cheap anymore. Bob's domestic hay becomes competitive again. His working cows can sell their hay. Factories reopen. Jobs come back. Everyone's happy. It's called protectionism, and it has a long history. America used tariffs heavily in the 1800s to build its industrial base. It worked then. Why not now? Here's the neutral version of the argument. Some bulls genuinely believe that decades of free trade hollowed out America's manufacturing core, that relying on China for everything from medicine to microchips is a national security risk, that rebuilding domestic production is worth short-term pain. Fair point. The other side says tariffs are just taxes on your own herd, that consumers pay the price, that trade wars never end well, that the world economy is too interconnected to just put up fences and pretend it's 1880 again. Also fair. But here's what nobody mentions in the polite policy debates. Both sides have a point. And both sides are missing what's actually happening on the ground. Because this isn't just about economics anymore. It's about power. It's about who controls the grazing grounds. And it's about what happens when you build a fence in a world that's already interconnected. Let's talk about what's actually happened. The numbers first. Bob slaps tariffs on hundreds of billions worth of Chinese goods. China retaliates with tariffs on American agriculture. The EU joins in. Japan, South Korea. Suddenly, everyone's building fences. Global trade contracts by over $1 trillion. Shipping routes dry up. Ports sit empty. This is what experts call a slight concern. Now, who actually pays? Here's the fun part. Those tariffs, they're not paid by China. They're paid by American companies importing Chinese goods, who then pass the cost to American consumers. So Bob's working cows, the ones who were supposed to benefit, are now paying 25% more for everything: electronics, clothing, car parts. The average American household is paying over $1,000 extra per year for the privilege of protecting jobs that mostly don't exist anymore. Funny how that works out. But wait, it gets better. The circular trap. Bob's domestic manufacturers need parts from China to make their products. Microchips, rare earth metals, components that America simply doesn't produce anymore. So Bob's tariffs make American manufacturing more expensive, not less. American companies can't compete globally because their input costs just went up. So they lay off workers. The exact workers the tariffs were supposed to protect. You'd almost think nobody thought this through. And China doesn't just sit there. They target American agriculture, soybeans, pork, wheat, the heartland. Bob's farming cows get crushed. Bankruptcies spike. The government has to bail them out with tens of billions in subsidies, paid for by taxpayers. So working cows pay higher prices and higher taxes to bail out farmers. While the prize bulls who run the mega corporations, they're fine. They lobbied for exemptions. They move production to Vietnam or Mexico. They always have options. The working cows don't. Other countries see what's happening. They start building their own fences, everyone protecting their own herd. Global supply chains fracture. Companies that spent decades optimizing for efficiency are now optimizing for survival. Uncertainty kills investment. Why build a new factory if you don't know what the tariff situation will be next year? So capital freezes, growth stalls. The entire global economy slows down because of fences. We've seen this before. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. America raised tariffs on tens of thousands of imported goods. Other countries retaliated. Global trade collapsed by 2/3. The Great Depression got worse. Economists broadly agree it was a catastrophic mistake. Bob says this time is different. Bob said that last time too. Here's the really fun part. Once you start a tariff war, it's politically impossible to back down. Bob can't remove the tariffs without looking weak. China can't remove theirs without losing face. So both sides keep escalating, keep building higher fences, until everyone's pasture is isolated, until trade routes that took decades to build are dismantled in months, until the global economy that lifted billions out of poverty fractures into hostile camps, all because Bob wanted to protect some jobs. So what does this mean for you? Your phone costs more. Your car costs more. Your groceries cost more. Because tariffs are taxes, and you're paying them. That factory job Bob promised, it's not coming back. Because even with tariffs, automation is cheaper than American labor. And the factories that do stay open are using robots, not workers. Your retirement fund? It's taking a hit. Because uncertainty destroys stock markets, and trade wars are nothing if not uncertain. If you're a farmer, you're getting crushed by Chinese retaliation and praying for the next government bailout. If you're in manufacturing, you're paying more for components and struggling to compete globally. If you're just trying to make rent, you're paying more for everything and earning the same wage. And the prize bulls? The ones who own the corporations, they're fine. They hedged their bets, diversified their supply chains. They have lobbyists in Washington making sure their specific industries get exemptions. And Bob? Bob's still standing by his fence, telling everyone how great it is, how much winning is happening, how the other bulls are going to cave any day now. Meanwhile, his herd is getting thinner, hungrier, more desperate. But at least he has his fence. Here's what's interesting about tariff wars. Everyone involved knows they're destructive. The economists know it. The politicians know it. Even Bob probably knows it. But they happen anyway. Because politics isn't about optimal outcomes. It's about appearing strong. About telling your working cows that you're fighting for them, even when you're not. About building fences that make you feel powerful while your herd starves. The global economy spent 70 years tearing down fences, building interconnected supply chains, creating a system where everyone depended on everyone else. It wasn't perfect. It created winners and losers, but it was stable. Now we're building the fences back up. And nobody quite knows what happens when you fragment a system this complex. Guess we're about to find out. The real question isn't if this matters, it's how long this can last.